Alright, everyone. So today, well, let's start with a recap, shall we? So last time, we started the construction of the Smith class, the Pittsburgh class, the Memphis class, the South Carolina class, and the Chester class, many of which had to be put on hold for a while as I needed to wait for the cruiser design to reach the correct tonnage limit that I needed for the heavy cruisers in question, the Pittsburgh and the Memphis classes. Um, Today, we've got a couple of different things to do. One is the immediate design and construction of the come on, there we go, of the Delaware class of ships, as they were supposed to be commissioned last year. It is currently March of 1911. um I'm not sure about the next class, the Florida class. Let's see about this. There were two of them. They were commissioned this year. The Omaha class isn't going to be commissioned for a long while. Another, what, 12 years? The Paulding class of destroyers were commissioned between 1912 and 1910. So we have that. And then the Cassin class um, won't be commissioned until, wow, one until what, 4 years from now. The Aliwin, okay. So the only thing that we really have to focus right now on is the Paulding class, the one that came after the Smiths. The Florida class, the Delaware class. What about the Wyomings? Wyomings will be commissioned next year, so yes, we will have to do those this year. Unless I don't have the right hull, in which case, shit. Then the New Yorks. 1914. So that's not gonna come for a few years. Okay. So we're going to be going up until the Wyoming class. We're going to go from the Florida class, or the Delaware class, up to the Wyoming. The Paulding and the Cassin. Cassin isn't gonna come out for another couple of years. And that's about it. Okay, so let's start with these Delawares. The Delaware battleships in the United States Navy were the second class of American dreadnoughts. The class comprised two ships, Delaware and North Dakota. With this class, the 16,000 long tons limit imposed on the capital ships by the United States Congress was waived, which allowed designers at the Navy's Bureau of Construction and Repair to correct what they considered flaws in the preceding South Carolina class and produce ships not only more powerful but also more effective and rounded overall. Launched in 1909, these ships became the first U.S. in U.S. naval history to exceed 20,000 long tons. Design. Prompted by the launch and the misinformation about HMS Dreadnought, the U.S. Navy and Congress faced what they perceived as a vastly better battleship than the two South Carolina battleships. Then under... I am recording, right? Okay, thank God. Then under construction... which were designed under tonnage constraints that Congress had imposed on capital ships. Actually, the South Carolinas were inferior only in speed to Dreadnought, and they carried fewer heavy guns, but unlike Dreadnought, could bring all of them to bear on the broadside because of this. They could fire an equal weight of metal. Also, because greater time and care had been taken with their armor and bulkhead arrangement, they were better protected than the British ship. None of this was realized at the time. Nevertheless, the Navy's Bureau of Construction and Repair, CNR, had struggled tremendously to design an adequate warship under congressional limits and had taken battleship design as far as those restrictions as it could. Which, for a time, at least I think, is pretty incredible. Like, under budget, and with all those limitations, the U.S. actually built a fairly adequate battleship that could compete with the newest, the Dreadnought. And when... Okay, I have to... Sorry for the tangent. No. Dreadnought class. No. Dreadnought. Laid down. HMS Dreadnought. There we go. Oh, did she not have any... She didn't have any sister ships. Okay. Oh, it's gonna be up here because she didn't have any sister ships. There's not gonna be any graphs. Built 1905 through 1906. In service. And then the Delaware... not the Delaware, the South Carolina class. Two of them. Laid down 1906. 1905 to 1906. Excuse me. Dates. Specific dates. October 1905. So the HMS Dreadnought was laid down before the South Carolina. South Carolinas. Was it built before the South Carolinas? Commissioned December of 1906. Well, of course it was built before it was commissioned before the South Carolinas, but December, okay. Okay, that's fucking... that's ridiculous. It takes us 4 years to build a similar battleship. At least a battleship of the same firepower. Which is kind of ridiculous. Whereas it only took them one. Maybe a little more than one. October Yeah, a little more than one because it would have been October 1905 and then October 1906, but it's December. October, November. It took 14 months to construct the dreadnought. What? It was already out. Oh no, it did serve in World War. Okay, good. For a second there, I thought that it was already outdated by the time World War One came around. I'm like, what? No, 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 no. How the hell does it become outdated? Anyway, Delaware. Seeing now that those limitations had become unrealistic, Congress ended them, and subsequent constraints would be dictated by treaty limitations. The language of uh, authorizing Act of June, uh, that date, um, why are numbers deceiving me? Um, June 26th, 1906. Okay, there we go. Was for a battleship carrying as heavy armor and as a powerful armament as any known vessel of its class to have the highest practicable speed and the greatest practicable radius of action. The Delaware was the second of the 11 distinct U.S. capital ship designs begun from 1906 to 1919. Some 29 battleships and 6 battlecruisers were laid down during this period, though 7 of the battleships and all 6 of the battlecruisers were cancelled. Except for the Lexington battle class battlecruisers, these were all relatively slow ships designed for no more than 23 knots. They ranged in displacement from 16,000 to 42,000 long tons, uh, while at the same time, no U.S. Dreadnought class battleship had yet hit the water, as all were either at some stage of building or in design. Virtually the entire U.S. Navy battle line was being designed by drawing on experience from pre dreadnought designs or from observation of foreign battleship design. General characteristics, propulsion, armament, all that good stuff. Alright. Armament. Here we go. This is where we get into the good stuff. So, let me. And I'm not going to switch over because it's not um, that interesting to watch me go into the designer. Um, it's loading. Okay. The Delaware class battleships were armed with 10 12-inch 45 caliber Mark V guns in 12 twin gun turrets. This was an addition of 2 guns compared to the preceding South Carolinas, and they were all center mounted, which meant that they had the same armament of the dreadnoughts, but could also bring all of their armament to bear, which meant that they had a larger weight of fire compared to the dreadnoughts. What came? Okay. Dreadnought class. Dreadnought. HMS Dreadnought. The Bellerophon class happened, and then the St. Vincent class. Jeez. Okay, the Bellerophon. Okay. And I assume I'm not gonna get into them too much, but I assume minor improvements. The St. Vincent class. More minor improvements. HMS Neptune class. Is this a class or is this a one ship deal? It's a one-ship deal. Okay. Okay, so... Same... They had HMS Dreadnought, 3 Bellerophons, so that's 4. St. Vincent's, 3 of these. 1 Neptune, so that's 8. They had 8 by 1911. Whereas the US had 6 by 1911. Holy shit. Holy shit. They had the Florida, the Delaware, and then the South Carolinas. So what about the 6, 7, 8? That's... What about by 1912? Colossus completed 2. That's... So 1911. Holy shit. That's 10 by 1911. And then the Orions. One, two, three, four. 4 Orions by 1912. Which means 14 battleships to the US's South Carolina, Delaware, Florida, Wyoming. 8. Okay, we had a little more than the half of their stuff. What about King George V class? November 1912. Jesus Christ, the British are insane. Fucking hell. Damn. Okay, continuing on with the Delawares. Where did we leave off? The gun housings were Mark 7 type, and they allowed for depression of -5 degrees and elevation of 15 degrees. The guns had a rate of fire of 2 to 3 rounds per minute. They fired 870-pound shells of either armor-piercing or common types, though the common types was obsolete by 1915 and put out of production. The propellant charge was 310 pounds in silk bags and provided a muzzle. The guns expected to fire 175 rounds before the barrels would require replacement. The 2 ships carried 100 shells per gun, or 1,000 rounds in total. At 15 degrees elevation, the guns could hit targets out to approximately 20,000 yards. 18,000 meters. 2 turrets were mounted, 4 in a super firing pair, while the other 3 were mounted aft of the main superstructure, all on the center line. Wait. Didn't I already make this? Didn't I already make the Delawares? They're. Yeah, I made it in the shared designs, didn't I? Do I really have to go over this again? Delaware. Oh. Class battleship. USS Delaware. BB-28. There we go. Images. Yeah, didn't... This gun couldn't fire directly aft for whatever reason. Right? Um... Larger ship was rejected as too expensive. Two Dreadnought that carried armament. That's where I am. 2 turrets were mounted for barbettes displacement. Caps placed the rear superfiring turret, number 3, closest to the midships since it represented the greatest weight borne by the ship's structure due to its tall barbette. Displacement would allow it support by the greatest amount of underwater volume available. The other 2 turrets, rear turrets number 4 and number 5, were placed level on the back, level and back to back. This arrangement was detrimental in 2 ways. First, number 3 cannot fire astern. Stern is stern fore and aft. Yeah, astern, that's aft. It could not fire directly aft with number 4 trained forward, which left only fire astern with number 4 trained forward. Oh, okay. So it could fire astern, just not with number 4 trained forward, which makes sense when you look at the pictures because, well, I suppose it doesn't make too much sense because it can just, I don't know. It would have to be firing at max range. That's probably it. Yeah, have to be firing at max range. Otherwise, the other turrets would have to be firing this way or the other way uh, in order for this to train on something behind it. Other than that, okay, that makes a lot of sense. So it can fire those 2. It just has to communicate with this turret to move to one side or another. So it's if it's like, I don't know, charging a line, but I don't know, maybe it's charging a line in a losing situation, and let's say it's a U, because this line, this, say, British battleship line, because it's going to be so long, is crossing the T, and not only crossing the T, but basically encircling this battleship, and it's trying to charge this portion of that U, it can fire this way and that way and that way. With this turret, these two turrets, and these two turrets. Any other arrangement is going to be detrimental. Because this turret won't be able to fire. The best turret arrangement would be if it's in a battle line against another battle line and all turrets are firing this way. Which is what I plan to use it like. But I think, and let me check here. Hold on, let me pause this. I think I've already made the Delawares. Okay, yes, it was the Delaware class that we built. So yes. I'm going to build it once again. There will be a few changes. I'm going to build it just the way, because the one that I built in that last one was in the update video, which the update didn't actually contain any new ship hulls. I only found that out after the fact, and the video kind of went in a different direction after that. But this is not going to be the same Delaware as that. It's, because I was trying to prove a point in that video, and that's that these ships, you can't get the length to beam to draft to ton ratio perfect. And so to that end, I'm not going to make it as best I can. Not in this iteration of the Delaware, because I'm not trying to prove that point anymore. I suppose I will have it up just for your convenience. I don't know. But I'm gonna be designing this, and then I'll be back with you. Okay, the Delaware is finished. Take a good look at her. Because... damn it. I wanted to show you the range, but it doesn't seem that I can. I can. There we go. About 18,000 meters. 45 caliber guns. Heavy shells, because we're American, of course we're going to use heavy shells. Armor scheme. Turrets. I got the pitch and all that stuff. Pretty much perfect. Length, beam, draft, all that stuff. Range, not quite up to where I wanted it, but they do still have the triple expansion engines. Technically they're vertical triple expansion, but next is multiple expansion 1 and multiple expansion 2. I tried to fiddle with this a hell of a lot to get that range up, but that's all I could do. Lots of fiddling with this central area right here to get rid of that fore and aft stuff. Also, instead of 1.5 here, I have 2, and instead of 1.5 here, I have 1.8 for the 4 weight offset. 4/and/or off weight, aft weight offset. No double bottom hull. Everything else, crop, all that stuff, best armor I could fit on it because it didn't say the armor. I'm just assuming that at this point they start using a whole bunch of Krupp armor methods. But that's the Delaware. Done. Next will be the Florida. And we'll read some more about that Florida class. To my knowledge, they're basically a repeat of the Delaware class, just with some minor improvements. Build ships. 2. Where am I financing? Oh. It's March. Okay. Status. Here we go. Delawares. Yeah, I'll actually rename them later. Let's move on to the Floridas. Now, window capture. Why isn't it... There we go. Okay, finally. Now, let's see. The Florida class battleships of the United States Navy comprised 2 ships, Florida and Utah, launched in 1910 and 1909 respectively, and commissioned in 1911. They were slightly larger than the preceding Delaware class design, but were otherwise very similar. This was the first U.S. battleship class in which all ships received steam turbine engines. In the previous Delaware class, North Dakota received steam turbine propulsion as an experiment, while Delaware retained triple expansion engines. Both ships were involved in the 1914 Second Battle of Veracruz, deploying their Marine contingents as part of the operation, following the entrance of the United States into World War I. In 1917, both ships were deployed to Europe. Florida was assigned to the British Grand Fleet and based in Scapa Flow. In December 1918, she escorted President Woodrow Wilson to France for the peace negotiations. Utah was assigned to convoy escort duty. She was based in Ireland and was tasked with protecting convoys as they approached the European continent. Retained under the Washington Naval Treaty of 1922, both ships were modernized significantly with torpedo bulges and oil-fired boilers installed and other improvements made, but were demilitarized under terms of the 1930 London Naval Treaty. Florida was scrapped, Utah converted into a radio-controlled target ship, then an anti-aircraft gunnery trainer. She served in the latter role until sunk by the Japanese during the attack on Pearl Harbor on the 7th of December 1941. Her hull became deeply stuck in silt and mud as she sank and thus was never raised. It remains on the bottom of the harbor as a war memorial. Design. The Floridas were the third of 10 separate classes built between the 1906 and 1919, a total of 22 battleships being commissioned. The new dreadnoughts of the American battle line were being designed from pre-dreadnought experience and observation of foreign designs, as no U.S. dreadnought had yet been commissioned at the time that the Floridas were designed. All were either at some stage of building or in design. American capital ship design was also heavily influenced by war games conducted at the U.S. Navy's Naval War College. Captain William Sims led a reform movement that assigned warship design to the General Board. These ships were an improvement over the preceding Delaware class. Their engine rooms were larger to hold four Curtis Parsons steam turbines. Their larger beam gave them greater metacentral height, in which the Delawares were noticeably deficient, which improved buoyancy and reduced hull stress. The ships mounted in 5-inch for 51 caliber guns as secondary batteries in casemates that boasted increased armor protection. The class retained the large and fully enclosed conning towers that were adopted for the preceding Delawares as a result of the American studies of the Battle of Tsushima in 1905. The design the design reduced the vulnerability of the command staff. Overall, these ships were much better protected than their British counterparts, although they were modified extensively during their interwar period. General characteristics: the Florida class ships were 510 feet long at the waterline and 521 feet 6 inches overall. They had a beam of 88 feet 3 inches and a draft of 28 feet 6 inches. They displaced 200 or 21,885 long tons, or 22,175 tons at standard displacement, and 23,033 long tons, or to 23,403 tons at full load. This was an increase of approximately 2,500 long tons over the previous Delaware class. The ships also had some of their superstructure rearranged, including the lattice masts and the funnels. The Florida class ships had a crew of 1,001 officers and men. The wider beam increased the vessel's metacentric height, which allowed the Floridas to accommodate their larger medium caliber guns without any real penalty in top weight. Florida was fitted experimentally with a large bridge that was then standard to house both ships and fire control personnel under armor, while Utah received a heavily armored fire control tower atop a standard sized bridge. The former proved especially successful, to the point that when a larger armored fire control tower and standard bridge was proposed for the Nevada class, it was rejected in favor of a roomier bridge like that of Florida. The two ships were modernized in 1925 through 1927. Among the improvements were the addition of torpedo bulges, which were designed to increase resistance to underwater damage. This widened the ships to 160 feet. The ships also had their rear lattice masts removed and replaced with a pole mast. A catapult for launching aircraft was mounted on the number 3 gun turret. Propulsion, main guns. Uh, it was intended to arm these ships with 8 14-inch 45 caliber guns, then in development in superfiring fore and aft mountings. As this gun did not go into service, it was intended originally to arm these ships with 8 14-inch 365 millimeter 45 caliber guns, then in development in superfiring fore and aft mountings. As this gun did not go into service until 1914, the arrangement of 10 12-inch 45 caliber Mark V guns in 5 twin turrets was retained from the Delaware class. The gun housings were Mark 8 type, and they allowed for depression to 50 degrees and elevation to 15 degrees. The guns had a rate of fire of 1, 2 to 3 rounds per minute. They fired these type of shells, yada yada yada. The propellant charge was 300. The guns were expected. Unfortunately, the turret layout of the Delawares was also retained, with its respective challenges. 2 turrets, numbers 1 and 2, were mounted fore and a superfiring pair, while the other 3 were mounted aft of the main superstructure, all on the center line. The rearmost turret, number 5, was placed on the main deck facing forward. The next turret, number 4, was placed on the main deck facing forward, but could only have fire on either broadside. It could not have fired straight forward or aft. The center turret, number 3, placed in a superfiring position, facing rearward, could not fire astern, and when the rearmost turret number 5 was placed on the main deck facing rearward. The next turret number 4 was placed on the main deck facing forward, but could not have fired on either broadside. But could only have fired on either broadside. It could not have fired straight forward or straight aft. The center turret, number 3, placed in a superfiring position facing rearward, could not fire astern when the turret directly under it had its guns trained forward. This left only the rearmost turret with its pair of 12-inch guns to cover the rear quarter of the ship. Also, since the engine room was situated between the superfiring rear turret and the ones behind it, steam lines ran from the boiler rooms amidships around the ammunition magazines for number 3 turret to the engine room. These lines, it was later found, had the potential to heat the powder in the magazine and degrade its ballistics. This design flaw was also prevalent in several British dreadnoughts, but was considered inescapable by naval designers on structural grounds. Other weapons. CNR proposed 6-inch 152mm secondary guns for these ships, protected by a 6.5-inch casemate armor. This would have been the only change from the protective scheme carried over from the Delaware class. However, a new 5-inch 51 caliber gun was adopted instead after concerns about inadequate splinter protection for secondary gun casemates and smoke uptakes led to an increase in armor. 16 of these weapons were fitted in individual casemates. These guns fired 50-pound armor-piercing AP shells at a muzzle velocity of yada yada yada. The guns could depress -10 degrees and elevate to 15 degrees. The guns were manually operated and had a range of train of about 150 degrees in either direction. Florida and Utah received two 3-inch 20 23 caliber guns in 1917 for anti-aircraft AA defense. This was increased to 8 guns between 1926 and 1928. These guns fired 16.5. The ships were also armed with two 21-inch submerged torpedo tubes. The tubes were mounted one on each broadside. The torpedoes were 16.4 foot long and carried a 200 pound 91 kg warhead. They had a range of 400 yards and traveled at a speed of 26 knots. Armor. The armor layout was largely the same as in the preceding Delaware class battleships. The armor belt ranged in thickness from 9 to 11 inches in the more important areas of the ship. Casemated guns mounted in the hull had between 8 and 10 inches of armor plate. After modernization, some of the casemated guns were moved to the superstructure. These guns were protected with only 5 inches of armor plate. The barbettes that housed the main gun turrets were armored with 4 and 10 inches of armor. The side portions, more vulnerable to shell fire, were thicker, while the front and rear sections of the barbette, which were less likely to be hit, received thinner armor to save weight. The gun turrets themselves were armored with 12 inches of armor. The conning tower was 11.5 inches thick. The armored deck was slightly reduced in thickness from 2 to 1.5. Okay. Let's get more pictures. Let's see. That looks like a newer variant. Can I see any pictures here? Port side view of Florida class battleship with 10 main guns. Exactly. Okay. Okay. So this looks to be a modernization. This looks to be her. Okay. We've got that step down, which I don't think that I can replicate here. Let's see. This is the hull that I want. And it's the only hull that we have. Experimental Dreadnought 1. Dreadnought 2. What happened to Dreadnought 1? Dreadnought USA, Dreadnought 2 is this one? Hold on. Let me check on something because I believe that some of my texts have been taken away from me for some unbeknownst reason. Main menu. We're in 1911. Ooh. Is that a step? It could look like a step down. When will I get Dreadnought 3, though? Wyoming. These are test designs. Don't worry about them. I didn't use this hull. Why? Did I ever use? Oh, I think I stopped at the Wyoming, didn't I? Oh, I did the Omahas and the Cockwells, the Wicks, Clemson. Excuse me. Oh, would I be able to... Is this what? Yeah, that's why. I couldn't get the arrangement right with these. That's why. Okay. We are not waiting for that hull. Oh wow, I expected to be over an hour at this point. I'm just below an hour. Recording time, that is. I still have plenty of time. Alright. New design. So essentially what I was saying earlier, for those of you who don't get it, right here is... So this is massive. It's very long. And you can't just set it up here. As you saw with... Did you see? You probably didn't see. You can't place it there because it interferes with the B turret. So you have to place the B turret before you place the superstructure. And that that platform that we saw on the other hull wouldn't have been able to take both of the stacks while using the mast. because that area, that small area going this way, the walkway, the platform there, wouldn't have been able to take that. And on top of that, actually, you have the barbettes here, which must be placed specifically against, certain things. Like, I think that's the way it looked. Let me double check. Yes, that's the way it looked. So that's the other thing. And you can place them just like that. That's all it needs to be done. Perhaps... look a little better. Yeah, let's keep it like that. Let's see. Her displacement was what again? 23,400. Okay. 23,400. 403 to be precise, but we'll just make it 400. Okay. That means I don't want to get rid of Whoa. Whoa, okay, that changes things. Yes, so I don't want to get rid of stability, so I will sacrifice range for that. And let's go ahead and do it. I'm going to go ahead, let's see. The Floridas had the Parsons steam turbines. The Wyomings had what? The Floridas had Parsons steam turbines. The Floridas had what? Parsons steam turbines. Then the New Yorks had what? Triple expansion steam engines. Nevadas. Water tube boilers. Oh, triple expansion steam engines. Jeez. We stay with triple expansion for a long ass time. The Pennsylvanias. Had Parsons steam turbines with geared cruising turbines. The New Mexicos. It just says 4 steam turbines. The Tennessees. Westington electric generators. Okay. Four sets of Curtis or Parsons. Curtis, Pennsylvania, or Parsons, Arizona steam turbines with geared cruising turbines. I would assume that the geared turbines would mean this. But no, because we get geared later. And these are above, so this one? Or would this one be a better representation? I have no freaking clue here. Let's just go with the better one. These are the Parsons. Ha 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 ha. Excuse me. Dear Lord. Okay. How did I solve this problem on the Delawares? Okay, so here's an idea. Let's actually delete this one. And then, because these are basically, the Floridas are basically Delawares, let's copy the Delawares over to the Floridas. And then we'll make tweaks as we go from here. Okay. So let's do Florida. And since these things had a wider beam, and okay, the ships also had some of their superstructure rearranged, including the lattice masts and the funnels. The Florida class ships had a crew of the wider beam, meaning the width of the ship. So let's see if we can make it a wider beam. $200 or 23,400. Wider beam, 23,400. Okay, so undo. There we go. A wider beam for, and larger medium caliber guns without any real penalty in top weight. Okay, I'm going to search for metacentric height because I know that that was referenced 2 times. Larger beam gave them greater metacentric height, in which the Delawares were notably deficient. So they were given a larger beam, but not other weapons. This would be, however, a new adopted instead after concerns about inadequate splinter protection for secondary gun casemates and smoke uptakes led to an increase in armor. 16 of these weapons were fitted in individual casemates. These guns fired. This was increased to 8 guns. In casemates that boasted increased armor, the class retained the larger, fully enclosed conning towers that were adopted for the preceding Delawares. As a result of the American studies of the Battle of Tsushima, overall, their engine rooms were larger to hold 4 Curtis or Parsons steam turbines. Their larger beam gave them greater metacentric height, which were deficient in. It said something somewhere about their casemates, which gave me the impression that they had a greater height. Because it said that they didn't get washed out as much. But I suppose that was just the beam? Come on. Please load. I want to see the other design. Thank you. Yep, 13 and 5. Then that. And Florida is. That engine. 23, 400. 400. Okay, no. $23,400. There we go. We get the same lengths. We get a little more engine power. 4-way offset is off balance. We can fix that later. They had less of a deck. But otherwise, their protection seems to be the same. Was their range greatly increased? No, it was actually shortened by about 300 kilometers. That's fine. We can just, yeah, it's fine. What if we did that, though? Can I see the range here? No. Okay. And then the Floridas. Okay, cool. That works perfectly. Then we have this rearrangement to do. And can we get the aft belt? What about the aft deck? Ooh. Okay. That's a little nicer than I thought it would be. I suppose neither ship should have had anti-torp. Should they have? Whatever, I'll keep it. I don't want to redesign the Florida or the Delawares. They had the same speed, right? Yes. Okay. So at the end of it, they basically just come out to be a little bit better of a gun platform. A little bit more stability with the beam. Oh! What about the casemates? 16. 14. Okay, so they had 2 more. I don't know why that's such a terrible spot, but let's put 2 more there. There we go. Not as a significant armor increase, but that's... or armament increase, sorry. But that's fine. Slight improvements. Slight improvements. That's what this class seems to be all about. Let's exit. Let's get build ship. 2 of those out. Somehow this picture makes them look a little more sexier than they actually are. And let's... Oh, new design, not build ship. Now, let's see. I do have an extra year, so if I need more tech, I can wait a little bit more time. Let's, Ah, perfect, okay. Picture! Here we are. So, it looks like we've got a very similar design to the previous, Florida class. At least in terms of the superstructure. And it gets updated over time with that. You see, that's a bit of a problem. That's a bit of a problem because if we want to do a refit and we want to get it to look like it's refit, we won't be able to, at least not with this hull. So let's take a look at some hulls. Let's go shopping. Let's go shopping for some hulls. Oh, for once it actually starts me on the US. The thing that I actually want. Okay. There's this, which I could probably use. Let's see, what was the tonnage? 27. Yeah, this would do just fine. It would be 27,700. But let's continue on. That was my practice. Dreadnought, this one. With this little section here. Yet this section doesn't match. You can't even put shit on it. Would the tonnage be good? You'd have to decrease the draft. Doesn't look like too significantly though. Okay. Oh. Oh, I don't have the right... I only have +5 guns here. Oh, and that... Those proportions actually look wrong. Would I be able to do it, though? No, not really. How did I design this one? Yes, of course, the old hull. And how was it designed? How did it look? Where is that really good pic? There it is. Can I... Where are my goddamn bookmarks? Oh. Now, I could swear that I pinned you. Done. All bookmarks. This one. Ah, there we go. Okay. Stupid. Okay. Wyoming. USS Wyoming. There we are. Hmm? This is World of Warships? Okay, hold on. I need to check this for myself. Okay, so yes, there are two versions of that, of the Wyoming in World of Warships. This is the second version. It's based on hull type. Or not hull type, hull, like A and B hulls, upgrades, that kind of stuff. So, this is what she looks like before. Or, sorry, after refit, not before. After refit. And this is what she looks like before. Can I open this in a new tab? Aha, there we go. Okay, well, that's ridiculous. She looks like one hull on one refit, and then she looks like another hull on another refit. Or not on one, on the original. It's one hull, and then the refit is a completely different hull. That's just great. I suppose the refit doesn't matter too much because they kind of get rid of a whole bunch of things. But, I mean, this Dreadnought 4 hull is the hull. There's, like, no doubt about it. But the tonnage and the beam and the draft, they all don't make sense. And the dimensions of the guns are a little bit too off. And what I mean by that is they look fucking small. They don't look small on the other hull. Yeah, this looks like it's going to be a tough one. And actually, let me... I need to look at more things because I know there are different hulls later on. Nope. Nope. Yes. Is this hull... Oh dear Lord. This would probably be a much better Wyoming hull, wouldn't it? Oh fuck. That's going to be fun to experiment with, isn't it? Uh, Wait, do you get Modern Battleship 2 before you get Modern Battleship 1? How is this a modernized Dreadnought? Or at least of US make model? I don't get it. That's more British hood type design. They could have uh, they could have done a lot better with that. I'm hoping that I will be able to use this hull to make convincing Pennsylvania's, New Mexico's, Nevada's, and all that stuff. This will be 1929. When let's see, New York. So New York is obvious. 1914. By 1914, I will have Dreadnought 4. So that's what New York will be. The New York class. Then comes the Nevada class. And those come 2 years later. Perhaps I can use this hull, the Dreadnought 5. When do I get it? Yikes. That's a whole 3 years. And then comes the Pennsylvanias, and the New Mexicos, and the Tennessees. Nevada. 1912 to 1916, Pennsylvania. 1912 to 1916, New Mexico. 1915 to 1919, Tennessee. 1916 to 1921. After that comes the Colorados. Alright, let's solve that as we go then. I don't actually think that I'm going to be using any of the refitted hulls, which is an interesting concept to me. But for now, I need... What are we on? 3 super for... I need 6 large centerline turrets. Which means this. Off of cruiser design. Let's see. When will I need cruiser design again? Heavy cruiser versus light cruiser and the Omaha class was essentially 10,000, so I'm good on that. And then the Pensacola's, the first heavy cruisers. Well, true heavy cruisers, I guess. 11,000 tons. Then they were succeeded by the Northamptons, which displaced less. Portland's, which displaced less. The New Orleans, which displaced about the same amount. The Wichita. Displaced more. The Baltimores displaced more at 17,000 tons. So we got until the Baltimores before we have to continue on with that, which means that we probably don't have to continue on with this for a long ass while, because we'll be researching this more and more and more and more. What about light cruisers? The Omahas and then the Brooklyns. We had... how much for the light cruisers? 15,000? Yep. And then after the Brooklyns, which were 12,000, the Clevelands, 14,000. which were succeeded by the Fargos with the Atlantas in between. And the Atlantas are obviously going to be way, way shorter in tonnage. $14.5K full load. And then the Worcesters, 18.26 or 286. Okay. So yes, we have long ways to go before we get anywhere near those things, which is great. Great for us, because that probably just means that we're done with the cruiser tonnage. Which just leaves this, and we get 4 months until Dreadnought 3. Okay, cool. Alright. Alright. That's perfect. I will get back with you when I get the 6 turrets. Or actually, should I quit now? Oh, no, not quit now. I need the destroyers. Okay. We're back in the design, and let's see, which hull are we going to use for this Paulding? Okay, this is a pretty good cross-section here. Cross-section, side view. So, torpedo boat destroyer or destroyer? Torpedo boat destroyer. Torpedo boat destroyer looks better. Now, derived from the Smith class, with the torpedo tubes increased from 3 to 6 via twin mounts. They were the first destroyers in the U.S. Navy with oil-fired boilers. Ooh. The 21 Pauldings doubled the number of destroyers in the U.S. Navy. The Paulding class derived its name from the class's lead ship, Paulding, named for Rear Admiral Hiram Paulding. 1797 through 1878. Like the Smiths, they were nicknamed Flivers after the small and shaky Model T Ford, once the larger 1,000-tonner destroyers entered service. "16-inch torpedo tubes and 3 twin mounts." 3 twin mounts! Nice! This was an easy upgrade from the 3 single tubes with reloads of the Smith class, as the new design twin-mounted mounts actually weighed less than the older single mounts. The gun armament was the same as the Smith class, with 5 3-inch 50 caliber guns during World War I, during World War I, 1 or 2 depth charge tracks were equipped for the convoy escort mission. There was some variation between the hulls. Direct drive turbines. service, and that's it. Okay. Generally, 21 ships, hull numbers 22 through 20 or 42, are considered Pauldings. However, some references list hull numbers 23 through 42 as the Monaghan class. Others break out hulls 24, 28, 30, 31, 33, and 36 as Roe class, with hulls 32, 35, 38, 30, and 24, 42, as Monaghan class. Curiously, Jane's fighting ships of World War I refers to a hulls 22 through 42 as the 21 ships of the Drayton class, going on to say unofficially known as the Flivver type. The book includes Paulding in the class listing, but not as the class leader. Interesting. Okay. Well, as usual, not much to read about there. Let's get straight into the design, the looks. So we have this. It looks like there's a torpedo tube there, a gun there, a gun there, torpedo tube there. Is it a Smith arrangement with two wings and then one aft? That's cute. Ah, this should tell me? No. Oh. So it looks like some of them had different layouts. Yeah, that looks like it's a wing. Open image in new tab. That's definitely a gun. That's a gun. That's two wing guns. And that looks like it's a wing. Yeah, okay. So that looks like it's the layout there. Now, let's take a look at this. The Paulding class had nearly 1,000-ton full load. It was 9,000 tons at full load. Or 900 tons. 901 tons at full load. So, let's... Oh. Above displacement limit for torpedo boat 800. Okay. Looks like we're going middle of the road tonnage then, in terms of full load and normal load. Oil-fired Normand boilers. Okay, so I guess these can be the Normand boilers. Oil-fired, induced. range 5,600 kilometers. Ouch. That hurts. Five 3-inch 50 caliber guns. 3 twins. Alright. Oh. Oh, but the... What did I do with the Smiths? Yeah, okay, okay. Then we need the actual destroyer hull. Even though, yeah. Come on, there we go. There we go. Advanced tower. Perhaps? Oh my god, does that look better? The hell? But what about the Smith? Why did I use... Oh dear lord. Mistakes were made. Yeah, I think that this one represents it better, even on the Smith. How much tonnage do I give the Smith? Oh, 916, huh? That's a step back. I made a mistake, yes. I see that. But that's just gonna be too far of a step back for me then, now. Let's get the funnels, which... They all seem way too close together. Let's start with this. And we can move that as we please. Next, the 3-inch gun on the front. 2 3-inch guns there. Double tube launcher there. Set a little farther back. Another tower. Then the wing torpedoes. That's 5 and 3. Okay. And her speed? .56 with a speed of 29.5 knots. We'll just increase that to 30. Then that induced. Nope. To induce or not to induce? Let's not induce. Semi-oil. That actually helps our 4-way offset. Okay. Crop. Anti-flooding. Your HE isn't going to pin anything that is armored. So let's have it do max damage, and then I want the AP to be able to penetrate as much as it possibly can. TNT, hydraulic, enhanced, not fast, still 18-inch. Coincidence, radio. And I suppose as much armor as we can fit on her. The guns were 50 caliber. Okay. Paulding. Nope, not Paulding. Paulding. Like Paul Revere. And I apologize, but this just kind of annoys me a little bit. Can I reduce the price and increase the weight? I can. That makes the armor less effective though, so let's not do that. Excuse me. That is the Paulding though. So let's save that design. Exit. I have been recording the right. Yes, I have. Okay. I need like a third monitor or something so that I can keep track of my recording and all these classes. Well, I suppose I don't. I mean, after this series is over, probably won't. Oh, not new design. God damn it. Alright. Hold on. I'll be back when it loads. Alright. We got 21 of them under construction. They will be completed in 7 months. Our finances are being spent horrendously fast. But that shouldn't be a problem later. Let's see. One, 4, 6, 5, 3, 9, 4, 0, 0. One, 1, 5, 3. 5, 8, 7, 0, 0, 0. I've got about 7 months. Okay, great. That's gonna be enough time to get these out. And then after that, no clue. Awesome. Hopefully those 21 actually mean a hell of a lot in terms of cost. Oh, but we've also got the smiths that will be completed. So hopefully that will do it all in. We're gonna be getting the gun layout. And I suppose we can do the hull strengthening as well. But that's gonna be it for this episode. I'm going to save it. I know we basically didn't do anything. Actually, let's skip a couple of months ahead. March, April... I want to get to July so that I can do my finances. And also, which hull is this? Ah. Hmm. That will be saved for the next episode. I've already gone over that once, twice. I'll go over it again before I make my final decision, because that's just what I do. Another month. May, June, July. Three superimposed. Scout cruiser force. Yes, I can definitely use the money, Argentina. Research, not ship design or anything like that. Let's take this off that. Because we need the gun layout before we need the hull strengthening. And that's going to be a bit of a doozy. Status. Okay. June. Cool, that's going fast. In July. You visited an international weapons exhibition and journalists asked about your impressions. You are not particularly interested. Our industry can produce much better weapons, but we cannot yet demonstrate them because they are secretly developed. Some of the weapon exhibits were fascinating and superior to our own, so we will consider adding them to our arsenal. You realize that our country is keeping pace with global military developments and our own weapons are at least equally good. Yeah, I need the funds. Advanced battleship funnels. Transport losses, intervention. Honduras' new leader was found to support armed terrorists who disrupt the regional trade networks of the United States, increasing the tension between the two countries. The United States government decided to launch a swift military occupation of Honduras to replace the local government and pacify the region for the coming years. A task force of at least 5,201 total tonnage is needed to support the invading force. Do you support this action? Yes. Mm-hmm. Wait, what's in Miami? CL. CL. Ah, right. A ton of other ships are building there. Okay. Let's take these, place them there. Take these, place them here. These, place them here. And these, place them here. That's probably a force much too big, but whatever. Should I be placing ships elsewhere? It's 2 CAs. Where is my... Okay, well, that'll be it for today. We have reached July 1911. Our research is coming along. We will be hopefully be getting 6 barbettes or 6 turrets soon. And after that, we will be doing something else. Let's increase the tension. We're at 94. Let's start a war with the Spanish. All that, though, for next episode. I will see you guys later.